How's it going, everybody? Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sunday, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern, Saturday mornings with Jim Valley, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 Eastern, Sundays with Andrew Zarian. And it is Thursday here on the show, and you know what that means? We got a lot of news to talk about here today. Last night, Dynamite Winter is coming. It's winter is coming all week. There's a Dynamite Winter is coming. There's a Rampage Winter is coming. There's a Collision Winter is coming. And we're going to tell you what's coming this winter on all of these shows and what happened last night, including the return of Toni Storm. Yes, we will talk about that. We also got updates on Bronson Reed, who underwent surgery yesterday. And really, there's not a lot of news. We've got some ratings notes to talk about, but we're going to have a lot of time to take your feedback here today, at least through the first 35 minutes of this show. In the final segment of the show, we are going to be joined by TJP to talk some New Japan Pro Wrestling, the big show coming up this weekend, and plenty more. So TJP will be on in the final segment of the show. In the meantime, if you would like to get a hold of us, we got a lot of ways to do so. Text messages, 425-780-7566. That is 425-780-7566. F4W Online at gmail.com is the email address. Also F4W Online, Threads, Instagram, and Cameo. You want a Christmas cameo? Well, I'm your man. We've also got at Bryan Alvarez on both X and, yes, Blue Sky for the time being. I was told that Blue Sky was a good alternative. I've actually had to block people, which I don't even do on X. But anyway, we can give it a shot. We'll talk about all that here on the show and plenty more. Mike Sempervive will join us after the break. We'll get into the news and review Dynamite and more. Back in a moment. Observer Live. Green Hill. Hello. He's escaped. Do you know which way he was headed? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Shoulders. He's been here.
It's Vinny's straitjacket.
You're getting close.
We're going to get on Mike's good side for once, or Lance's. God. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, I had a chance to watch you and Lance yesterday on Figure 4 Daily that streamed on Twitch and YouTube, and you guys were having a conversation about people taking a step back when it comes to winning championships. And I agree with Lance. I do. And I know it's a different era, and I
You guys
know
are both
that
idiots.
there's room for exceptions, but you made no argument whatsoever. In fact, you made a typically dumb, hyperbolic Alvarez type of argument against what Lance was saying by bringing up Nick Nemeth, was a step down to TNA. Look, it's very simple. There's a reason that they called the United States title a stepping stone title. It's because, okay, we're elevating you up to a point, and we're trying to see if you can carry the ball and continue to move up, or if you're better centered right here. So once you win the world title, yeah, if you don't have some amazing story, Roman Reigns stepping back down to win the Intercontinental title does not make much sense, in the same way that Ric Flair going back down to
Typical
face-
non-athletes.
First of all, watch that one.
What are you-
I actually
what are you-
accomplished something in actual team sports and such, but here's the deal. When Ric Flair stepped back down to face Conan for the United States title, it didn't feel like Ric Flair. It didn't. And
Felt like Ric Flair to me.
Here's what the bottom line is. Once you hit a certain point and you get to the main event and you're a world champion status, it shouldn't be about going down to chase somebody else's trinket just because the trinket is available.
Hey.
You should be feuding with other main eventers and upper mid-carders in a story that doesn't have to do with a title.
Hey.
It's really that simple.
No, it's not. Listen, hey, who won the Super Bowl last year?
Who was it? Kansas City, right?
Kansas City. So they should
Can't
just
remember.
quit.
What are you talking about?
So, like, if they win the Rose Bowl, like, what losers? What losers?
Listen to me. If you're going to bring up sports analogies, you're going to lose this, because the great Vince Lombardi said they used to have an NFL championship game, and they had a consolation bowl, and he called it the Hinky Dinky Losers Bowl.
That's fine that he called
because
that.
Who wants to be number two? Who wants to take a step back, Bryan Alvarez?
Well, you know,
maybe
lots of
that.
athletes, you know, hey, maybe I'm not in contention for that world title this year, but damn it, I'm going to win the Intercontinental title.
You know what fighters do, Brian? In most cases, they don't step back down to take fight. They take fights instead of for crappy titles. They take them for money, and they take them for stories.
Get out
and that's
of here.
supposed to be what pro wrestling
This is the dumbest
does.
argument. So once you win the world title, it's like, I will never, hey, you know what? I was offered the Intercontinental title. I don't want to even take that match. I'm not even going to compete. It'd be such a step down to be the Intercontinental champion. I'm just not going to do it anymore. If I can't get a world title shot, I will never compete for a belt again. What
Page
moron
was
would
right.
do that?
Ethan Page.
What did
was
Ethan Page
right.
do? He took the title shot.
Because he's weak.
Because
he was weak.
He's
a weak man.
He said,
he's a weak loser.
I don't
man.
want to step down to that North American title. And Tony D's like, okay, good, I'll give it to somebody else.
Yeah.
And then he realized how stupid that was.
Yeah.
And he begged for the shot.
Because he's an emotionally broken man who makes poor decisions, Bryan Alvarez. Maybe you can relate to something
I
like
can always
that. The
see in
real
the
athletes
thread.
who get to a real level cannot.
If you're going to sit
Hold on
here
here.
and claim
Hold
that
on
you
here.
are a real athlete above me, like this is going to be the longest show in the history of this earth.
Hold on. God damn it. There we go.
Let's see your trophy room here.
No. We're just going to read off of this what it takes to be number one. You've got to pay the price. I'm going to read this whole thing if you don't cut me off here, and it's pretty damn long.
Oh,
Vince
guy, I got too
Lombardi.
much, dude. Get out of here. Get out of here. I muted you, so don't even bother. God, we got a million things to talk about. You're going to read a plaque? God. Keep reading. I'll move on. A stupid argument. This is even worse than how did those guys not know that MJF was there last night, even though they were getting ready for a match? Bronson Reed, best wishes to him. He's on the road to recovery after undergoing surgery Wednesday to repair a broken foot suffered at Survivor Series. And everyone talks about how, oh, it's just a foot, whatever. Yeah, it's a foot attached to a 400-pound guy that jumped off the top of a cage. So, like, it was destroyed. And apparently when they went in, it was like one of those things where they thought it was bad, but they went in and it was worse. But they still fixed it. He's going to be, apparently he's going to be all right, but it's going to be a long time. So I can't read what he wrote here when he posted a picture of himself in the hospital. On the road to FS Up is what he wrote. So all the best to Bronson Reed. Probably out past WrestleMania, but hopefully he comes back and is a monster. Are you done yet with that thing?
It's a reality of life that
Don't you get out of here, God. I'll wait. Hey, are you and Lance gonna talk about how awesome it is that Tony Storm's first match back is on Rampage?
No, we're not.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I bet that one's cool too.
No.
Hey, Mike.
Yes.
It's a step down.
You're a step down, Brian. You're a step down.
NXT on Tuesday, 680,000 viewers, and a .17 in 18 to 49, which was a very good number. And yeah, up year over year, which is always good. NXT, the 18 to 49 is down slightly, but good numbers. Good numbers for NXT on the CW.
I'm a little surprised. I actually thought that they would be a little higher with that, with just some sort of network bump, and that doesn't seem to be the case at all. But they have dragged over everybody that seems to be watching on USA on a regular basis over there, which has got to thrill CW considering their numbers.
It's not a... they didn't get much of a network bump, but they're like the most watched show on the network by about triple, I'd say, about right now.
Quadruple? Yeah.
So that's a good number there.
Very, and I tell you what, it's one of those things. I understand Tony Khan's loyalty in trying to build something with WBD, and the fact that he got the money that he did proves that. But with what the CW is doing and putting such a value on live sports and what they did, not having ROH on there, boy, in hindsight, that may have not have been the way to go. Although we'll see what happens with it in the future.
All right. This person said, I don't think Toni Storm needs the silent movie star gimmick anymore. Most of her recent promos were just her anyway. I think she will be fine and still say funny lines involving boobs and shoes. That's not my issue right now. My issue is not how she returned or what gimmick it was. My issue was when
Yes.
and where she's returning in the ring at.
Rampage.
Guys, listen. We'll talk
The
about
show's dead.
We'll talk about Dynamite.
What are they doing?
Here's the thing, okay? Listen to me. Okay?
Yes.
If this were 6 months ago, it would still be stupid. But I could see the method to the madness. Well, we want to get a real great television deal. We have to boost these Rampage numbers. Let's put something big on Rampage to try to boost the numbers to ultimately get a better television deal, which ultimately will pay us more money. Okay? Rampage has already been canceled. It's done. It doesn't matter if you boost the number or not. It doesn't matter if you run a pay-per-view in the Rampage time slot and call it Rampage and it does 10 million viewers. It doesn't matter. It's dead. It's canceled. The show is off the air in like 2-3 weeks. What are we doing?
I don't know.
Why are we trying to boost a canceled show?
I don't know.
They didn't even put her on Collision, which is continuing. What are we doing? What are we doing?
We're complaining about the fact that they seem to not know what they're doing, or they're playing some sort of 4D chess, which is just way above the rest of us. I don't know what to tell you. And this is a week where you don't have college football beating you into the ground on Saturday, I don't believe. Army-Navy's on, that's about it. I think you have as clear of a shot now as you could possibly have going into the pay-per-view. I don't get it.
Back in a moment, Observer Live.
Welcome to the special tour of Figure 4 Weekly Headquarters, as promised. Today I will be accompanied by my assistant Vincenzo, so let's get moving. Hey, don't worry about it. Today's a special day, I'll drive. Vince, today's gonna be a good day, so let's not F anything up, okay? Now, I'd like to tell everybody, I just want to give a short speech on the way to the compound here today. And that is that we are going through very tough economic times right now. Right, Vince? It's a time of stock market crashing, the yen is devalued, a time of woe and want. And many of you watching this right now, for all I know, are unemployed. But the good thing is, and I always like to look on the bright side, as Vince is well aware, the good news is that for every dark cloud, there is a silver lining. And the silver lining is that Figure 4 Weekly is doing great. It's a huge success right now. Subscriptions are up, quality is down, profit margins are skyrocketing, things are going very well. So the one thing is that I don't want to make it seem like money is everything, because money cannot buy happiness, but what it can buy is enormous houses, and that makes me happy. So we will be going to see my enormous house, the Figure 4 Weekly compound, and that's where we're heading right now.
Hey, you called it during the break. There are people that will argue anything. Do you know how many people I talked to in AEW yesterday? And every last single one of them, and aghast may not even be the right word, appalled that Tony Storm's return is on Rampage. And meanwhile, leave it to the fans, leave it to the wackos. This is a great idea. He's got to give his fans a worthwhile show those last 3 weeks of the canceled show. Meanwhile, there's actually like other shows that aren't going to be canceled. Like, God forbid we put this return on Collision or on Dynamite
What did
or
Collision
on
get
World's
last
End.
week?
It must be. We must boost Rampage at the very end. Never mind the fact that when it wasn't canceled, he never boosted it. And in fact, we did have two randos, whatever this guy is saying to each other for an hour. Like, we had that for like a year to the point that they canceled the show. But now that it's already canceled, now's the time. Let's really build up those last 3 weeks. Let's get people really into this show that is gone in 3 weeks. That is a great idea.
Just wait until Bandito.
If people are aghast, why don't they do something about it? What are they going to do? I've explained this 1,000 times. You could have had, and I swear to God this is true, you could have had 200 people lined up outside Tony Khan's door last night. One by one, all 200 of them could have gone in there and said, this idea is stupid. And do you want to know what had happened at the end of the night? He would have still done it.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens. People argue things with him every single week, and at the end of the day, he does whatever he wants. What do you want people to do about it? Like, what world are these people living in? Now, I never, you know what I don't do?
What's that?
I never say Lance is an idiot. Even though Lance every day says I'm an idiot. He'll text me, you're an idiot, and then he'll say something he disagrees with.
Well,
I never say he's an idiot.
well,
But if you or Lance argue this, you are shoot idiots, okay?
wait, who? Me? Argue what?
Just wait.
Argue what?
I'll tell you. This person here sent a very, very astute and intelligent text. John Cena as the United States champion was awesome. It did not demote him one bit. In fact, it elevated the U.S. title. If you or Lance Storm are going to sit here with a straight face and tell me that there was ever a period in the history of WWE where the U.S. title was more important and valuable than when John Cena was the champion and did that open challenge regularly, you are an idiot. The U.S. title was never more important. It was never more prestigious. That is a run that everybody talks about to this day because it was so awesome. And it was John Cena demoted to the U.S. Championship.
Brian,
you gonna argue it? Go for it.
Yes, because they're not absolutes in everything. And there was a time where when Ric Flair, bringing him up again, had the Intercontinental title, and that was weird seeing him with that in WWE, but it was because all of his friends wanted to help the old man out one more time when they were all in Evolution. You can tell a story with a belt to elevate a belt. You can absolutely
Flair was
do that.
300 years old at the time.
There are exceptions to everything. There are exceptions to everything. But as a general rule, no, you don't want to do that. Because once you get past that level, then you want to be up here with other people who are in the main event or who are upper mid-carders. Some promotions can do that better than others. Look at WWE right now. Drew McIntyre and Seth doesn't need a belt. If you did Punk and Zayn, it doesn't
God
need a
forbid
belt.
they fight over the Intercontinental title.
But again, those guys want the world title because that's prestigious. And it also has a lot to do with the fact of who is holding your world title and do you keep it in good stead? And they have done that in WWE. They've even done that in
So
AEW.
you and Lance are telling me
that there should be more main eventers to feud with?
that
Yes.
if Roman Reigns is the champion, actually he was the champion, Cody, if Cody is the champion, Roman Reigns wins the Royal Rumble, and you know through January, February, March, and April that the WrestleMania World Title match is Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes for the title. If you're Drew McIntyre, and you know that's the title match at Mania, for 4 months, you're just going to say, you know what? I'd rather wrestle a random person at WrestleMania than fight for the Intercontinental title. I will not fight for the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. That is below me. I'd rather have a random match with Sami Zayn with nothing on the line. That is absolutely stupid.
No,
if you
you're bringing up with there's nothing on the line, as if they wouldn't have a story that would be good, a personal story.
If you
that
know
would have something like Drew McIntyre
the
and
main
Punk did,
event,
right, Brian?
if you know the main event of WrestleMania is for the world title, and you can't fight for the world title, you can't. You know what the match is 4 months in advance. You're going to spend 4 months just going, I don't care about the Intercontinental title.
No.
I don't care about the U.S. title. I refuse to fight for those titles at WrestleMania. I'd rather fight a non-title match than a title match.
Because I'm going to use the word
God.
you love to use, which is it's fake. And then you have a story between two
Lance is going to
people
love this argument.
like a CM Punk and a Drew McIntyre where you didn't need a title for that story. You didn't need a title for lots of different stories because you have a personal conflict. That's what you have. It's pro wrestling. You don't need a title for everything. I guess in your world,
I'll conclude.
This new world we live in, Brian, you should be all about those multiple women's titles and all that stuff.
I'm going to conclude with this.
I'm going to conclude I was right and that you should apologize.
I know we have young people watching. I hear it all the time. Me and my son listen. If you're a young fella and you're in sports and you win a gold medal, it's okay to keep competing and get that silver. You're still a winner in my book. Now, let's talk about some other stuff.
I am trying not to curse at your just sickening display of
hey, once they win that gold, Mike,
nonsense and excuse
once
making.
They win that gold,
my God.
nah, don't go up to that bronze.
Somebody light a match up the straw man.
Bro, hold on. You said you agreed with Lance. Lance made that same argument. After winning a gold medal, who would possibly want to go back and get bronze or silver? Who?
Brian, do you
That's
think
what
Gable
he said.
Stevenson? Look, you accept silver.
He actually used Gable Stevenson as an example. He goes,
and
after that guy won the Olympics, why would he possibly want to go win the NCAAs? What a step down. What a loser he would.
No.
That's what he said, and you're agreeing with that.
No, because I disagree on that aspect because he has a chance to go back to college and win another NCAA, and that
No,
means
that's a step down, Mike.
But here's the other thing.
Step down.
What did he want to do this year WWE would not let him do? What did he want to do this year WWE would not let him do? Go to the Olympics. Why did he want to go to the Olympics? He wanted to go to the Olympics to win back-to-back gold medals. Now, you can settle for a silver, you can settle for a bronze, but your goal is to always be the best you can be.
Turns out he couldn't do the Olympics.
At gold medals.
It turns out he missed the Olympics, so you know what? Now he wants the NCAAs because he's a real champion. And he's okay winning a gold medal at the NCAAs after winning the Olympics.
You have to take a step down every day and do that sad Brian and Vinny show.
Hey, I got some more here.
Because of that.
This guy says after Babe Ruth, the Yankees should have folded. Yeah, may as well have. God, he's gone. This guy says, hey,
these are the stupidest arguments. Look, now you're being the person in the Twitch chat. Look at you.
Look.
You're that guy you talked about at the beginning of the segment.
Hey, do I have to mute you so I can read this guy's thing? Hey, by the way, Bill Belichick is coaching a college team again after winning 6 Super Bowls. Yeah, what a loser. Can you imagine winning Super Bowls and going back to coach a college team? That guy's a loser. You should never... Hey, listen, after you coach a Super Bowl team, retire. You should never go back to coaching college because, you're a loser. What a step down.
What a stupid argument you're making.
I didn't make it. That guy made it.
Especially because
he's right.
He's going there to set up his son, who's going to be the head coach there in a couple of years, and setting up.
Yeah, but he's a loser. I mean, I'm glad his kid's going to be like whatever, but he's a loser.
That's the best you got. Boo!
Stepping down to coach college.
Boo!
God, I'll mute you. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Dynamite show. Now that we've wasted all of this time, thank God we got a Bryan and Vinny show tonight to go over all of it. We had 3 Continental Classic matches. We had Will Ospreay pinning Claudio Castagnoli, so he gets points. We had Brody King losing to Ricochet, so Ricochet gets points. And Ricochet's apparently turned heel. Yes. He hasn't even joined the Hurt Syndicate, but he has turned heel. And then we had Mariah May beating Mina Shirakawa. Somebody was arguing with me about when Tony was brought back, and they were like, they had to finish the Mina-Mariah feud first. I was like, feud? They broke up 2 weeks ago. This is a 2-week feud. They're like, well, this whole thing started in... Well, it wasn't a feud until they broke up. They feuded for 2 weeks. Now it's over. And they brought back Tony. Who apparently, by the way, they brought back Tony to stare down Mariah May. But the match at the pay-per-view is actually Mariah May versus Thunder Rosa, who's had 2 matches in 4 months, and they were both against Harley Cameron. I had a lot of questions when the show was over. Yes?
Hey, am I back up now?
You've been up the whole time.
Oh,
Once you stop talking.
What?
Do
you think Thunder Rosa was a distraction here if you were going to bring back Tony Storm? Was
of
it really
course!
Just to all hold up the WTF sign at the end?
God. What? I have so many questions about this.
Look,
why did Tony Storm return to have a return match on Rampage now? Why is Thunder Rosa getting a shot at Mariah May? after winning 2 matches in 4 months, both against Harley Graham. What? What?
We didn't talk about Collision, and we won't, but like the whole FTR and that whole segment from the time they went to commercial with with Orange Cassidy being stolen, and then in the back, everything about that is just mind-numbing. They have the oddest things that happen during that show, where quality control, I don't know what the term would be, but
All right, back in a moment with TJP, Wrestling Observer Live. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. Very happy today to be joined by TJP. We got a lot to talk about here. TJ, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Hey, were you just up here in Washington State like 2 months ago for a show?
I'm actually up there quite regularly, yeah.
What's the name of that promotion again?
It would be Relentless Wrestling.
That's right, Relentless. I was there. I was there. My buddy was like, hey, there's a Relentless show. It was out in, I forget where it was. It was like quite a ways away from where I live. And I was like, man, let's go. And so we drove out there, and it was way out in the middle of nowhere, and they had a ring set up in a field. And
yes,
you know the one I'm talking about?
That was one of the few days that we were closer to Seattle. They usually base out of Spokane.
Yes.
Kylie Ray was there.
Yes.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, because I do a show with Filthy Tom, and so he was going to be on the show. And so
yes.
Weren't you guys in the main event? Wasn't it like
Yes, we were. Yeah, it was. We had.
It was a three-way.
It was a three-way with Cheetah. I remember that one. We had a very funny table break. Well, door break.
I remember this because, back in the day, I was an indie wrestler, and so around this area, I would always do these shows where they'd set up the ring in the middle of a field, and my memories from way back then, because there was no indie scene back then. It was we were an island in the middle of nowhere, and there was never anybody there, and I would go to these shows, and I would get there, and I was like, what am I doing? I was just so miserable. And so I get to this show, and there's a ring set up in the field, and I'm like, it took me back. I was like, oh my God, it's a ring set up, and I was just expecting the absolute worst. But we had so much fun at this show because there was so much talent, and the matches were really good. And I just remember leaving, going, that was so much fun.
It's a lot of fun when I feel like there's a diverse crowd, and by diverse crowd I mean when there's a mix of family kind of audiences. There's a few people there that they only knew me from the United Empire and New Japan, for example, and it was a kind of a fun mix because you get a lot to work with. And it was kind of a crazy setting. Every time there's a setting like that, or say a firehouse or a brewery, I think of it almost wow, pro wrestling is really just Street Fighter 2, and these are the stages,
Yeah, and it's also because back in the day when I did these shows, it was they were horrible, and there was nobody on them. It's just a bunch of local guys. So I go to this show, and there's a ring in a field, and I knew Tom was there, obviously. But I'm just thinking, man, what am I going to see here? I was expecting the worst, and then all this talent comes out. And it was really cool.
Well, Relentless is quite a hidden gem of, I think, the modern independent scene, and they don't really show it off or flaunt it as much as they should. But they put on a hell of a show, and they got a great roster and a lot of cameo appearances from some really great talent.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned going through the door. What is worse, going through a door that may be a little thick, or going through a table with the legs and all that sort of stuff? We seem to have gone to a lot of doors. I guess, Home Depots won't sell to wrestling promotions anymore, but what is it? What is it like going through the door, and what was that spot you're talking about where it was went a little haywire?
Well, actually, let me ask TJ, do you know about the tables in Home Depot? Isn't that true?
Is that? Oh, I don't know. Is that the case? They screen us for pro wrestling.
No, I don't think it's pro wrestling. But I did a show a year ago, and nobody could get tables. It's you couldn't buy the tables, so they had to buy a bunch of doors. It was weird.
I do know that it tends to be kind of hard to come by because I actually didn't think about it until you said that, but I do have several unrelated recent memories of people saying, "Oh, I couldn't get it, or I couldn't get one." It happened even in Japan, not even just in the United States. Somebody in Japan, they was like, "Well, we only got one," and I was like, "Wow, this is crazy." It's everybody can't get one.
Well, I think
considering those tables, I would rather go through.
I was going to say those tables in Japan, you're better off going through a cement wall.
Well, to answer the former question, I just refuse. That solves my problem. I just refuse.
That's a smart yes.
No, the moment that I was referring to was at that show, and I was perched on the top, and I was trying to shove the guy backwards, and I thought, well, he can just kind of roll back into the ring if I give him a little nudge, and the nudge was all it took to break the table he was standing.
Yes.
So I don't know. I guess maybe table is more comfortable. They're softer, maybe. I don't know. Or I'm sorry, door is maybe more soft, I guess.
Doors, yes. Well, we got to talk a little bit about the show this weekend, New Japan Strong Style Evolved. It is December 15th on New Japan World, and 7:30 bell time. And a lot of big matches on the show. Mercedes and Hazuki is the main event for the New Japan Strong Women's title. And you were in a four-way with Kevin Knight, Kosei Fujita, and another friend of the show, Clark Connors, who actually is from around here, believe it or not. And what are your thoughts on that match in this show?
Oh, I definitely know he's around there. My first time being in the ring with him was in the J Cup in Seattle. What was that, 5 years ago?
Yeah.
And they let me know. they let me know who was from there and who wasn't.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's got quite a lot of support up there. And yeah, I mean, that match obviously is a very interesting one. There's going to be a counterpart to it with the other members of each team on the Korakuen Hall shows coming up Christmas Eve week in Tokyo. And I think this card at the Pyramid in Long Beach is a pretty great preview for all things Wrestle Kingdom, because, you know, you have Zach and Shota on the opposite teams in a six-man. We have a new member, obviously, this week. I don't know if people saw the announcement that I put out, but Templario from CMLL joined the United Empire, and so he's going to be teaming with our other new member, Jacob Austin Young, against LIJ members, Hiromu and Teton. So I'm actually looking forward to that one quite a bit, because both of these guys are my recruits. So if they don't do well, I got to fire them. So
if Templario doesn't do well, you probably should fire him, because that's pretty much an impossibility.
Yeah, my advice, guys, you better do well, or you'll be replaced. Sorry. Yeah, and we Gabe Kidd versus Oiwa, and then there's the special tag team grudge match with Jack Perry and Takeshita, who I just couldn't beat last Strong show, and Shingo and Tsuji on the other team. So that's a pretty good one too.
Yeah, it's a very stacked lineup. My favorite Clark Connor story is before he became a wrestler. One of my best friends, his wife works at a swimming pool in North Bend, and young Clark Connors ran the elderly person's water aerobics class. And it was always packed, as you can probably imagine. Those ladies love them some Clark Connors. So if we can get this one playing at the pool.
That must be the origins of his short shorts and crop tops.
Yes, exactly. Now, what? Like, you're obviously very, very busy. I mean, what have you been doing of late?
Well, I've spent 50% of my year in Tokyo, probably the last 3 years or so. I try to split my time between there and CMLL. I haven't done much. I don't even know if I checked into CMLL this year. I've been in Japan pretty much most of the time. When I'm stateside, I've done a lot of those Relentless cards that we referred to a little bit ago. Other than that, running around with my two fat kids. But my wife and I actually just started a local bar show that we were trying to keep a little bit underground, but we ran our first show just this past week, so that was a lot of fun. And
so why do you want to keep it a little
going forward?
Why do you want to keep it a little underground?
Because we just kind of wanted to make a little show that was almost by the boys for the boys, so to speak, and it'll never really leave the bar, 100-person maximum, and just kind of have fun and see where it goes. It's being held at the Nerd Bar in Las Vegas, which has sort of become slightly world famous for wrestling fans. So we kind of figured with a famous, kind of a low-key famous venue, it'd be a fun little show to do on a rotating schedule. So
now, do you live in Vegas, or are you doing the 4-hour drive?
No, I do. We do have a house in Vegas. I relocated out here. I'm only a few hours from where I grew up in Southern California.
Yeah.
We moved out here, I don't know, a little while back.
Is there some long-term booking here? You get these shows going. You're going to be one of the crown jewels of next year's WrestleMania weekend with all those other shows running around?
That's right.
Well, they did offer us a WrestleMania weekend spot because we're going to be housed in the venue itself. I'm pretty good friends with the owner of the Nerd as well. But I don't know about crown jewel. We just did the first one. We're having fun with it. We'll see how, as long as the boys are having fun and everybody's having fun, we're going to keep doing it. But we don't necessarily aspire to be the next PWG or something like that,
Now, it's one thing to be spending half the time in Japan and half the time stateside when you're like a young single man. But I mean, wife and children. How do you balance that?
I buy her a lot of skincare from Tokyo.
But basically, you're going on your own. You're not like dragging them around the world regularly.
No. Actually, I've been the one that, I don't know if this is common. I feel like usually maybe this is on the family side of it or on the wife's side of it. I'm usually the one that's trying to drag them along, but she wants to have her relax. Probably wants to get away from me for a little bit.
Sure.
So, but yeah, in return, she gives me a big laundry list of skincare items and Pokemon items to get from Tokyo for her. So she gets Christmas year-round, basically.
Have they ever gone?
No. Every Wrestle Kingdom, we try to organize it, but the kids are so young, so traveling is a little bit dicey with them. We got a 3-year-old, and actually our youngest, he turns 1 today. It's his birthday.
Oh, well, happy birthday to him, and you have made the right call, having children myself. The flight to Japan with a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. Your youthful good looks will be gone by the time you land. Is what will happen there.
Red Shoes created a little nickname for a few of us that have recent kids on the roster. He calls us the Papa's Club. So, there's me. Finley's got a young one as well. There's a few of us that are in the Papa's Club, but it's the best thing I've ever done in my life.
It is the best.
Yes.
That's undeniable. Now, very quickly, before this segment is up, I have to ask, because as a cheap plug, I do a non-wrestling podcast, a paranormal podcast, and I must ask you about the Aswang. What can you tell me about this?
Well, it's interesting. The Aswang was something that I've been waiting to do for, about 20 years or more. Originally, when I was Puma, I wanted to make it a dark character, and I wanted to model it after what is sort of the Aswang folklore. The Aswang is a kind of an umbrella term for, it just kind of means monster in Filipino, and there's a lot of different categories. So it would be like, in America, if you said monster, and then you think werewolf, vampire, Frankenstein, mummy, zombie.
Sure.
That's what Aswang is in the Philippines. But by default, they assume it's the vampire version, which is sort of what my character is based on. Is that's sort of like our chupacabra. Every time I get a chance to do something new, I always want to introduce it, but either technology at the time or my age at the time, I started so young. So for a long time, I was the young guy in the room, so the opportunities were a little bit thin. And it just seemed like the right time to do it now, and it's something that's always been really important to my family background and our heritage, and something that I've always latched onto from, not just from a folklore standpoint, but from obviously a social standpoint. I've always been a horror punk kid, so, it just fits right into who I am.
All right, well, stand by. We're going to head to a break. Back in a moment with more Wrestling Observer Live. We did, in fact, by popular demand, watch Ready to Rumble.
The champion is some fat loser.
Yeah, he's a completely talentless, no athletic ability, can't wrestle, broke bum that walked out on his wife and kid.
But he was over.
He's the world champion.
He
and
was.
In the movie, the
but that's a microcosm of wrestling, sadly.
Yes.
He feels so bad about drinking this entire slushie that cost $1.26, and he sticks his finger in his asshole and walks up to the clerk.
Lance is dying. How could the movie be so bad?
I'm not going to fault the man for that, of all the things in the movie.
I thought for sure you were going to say you'd done this before.
There's a reason I'm not going to fault the man for that.
I just think with all the porta potties and farting in this, that I think Vince McMahon was a secret producer on this film. Had to have been.
So then we get the Shermanator. He's played a WCW arcade game. He uses some internet sleuthing to find the personal information of Jimmy King.
He's searching the internet. Can find out anything on here. This movie is so antiquated. Every Nitro Girl is in a Nitro Girl outfit, except for this girl. They had her dance in something totally different.
Brian, like the captain.
So we're so stupid. I got it.
Captain
Yes,
Stabbing.
if you're watching this film, you're that stupid. I'm sorry.
But I was also insulted by the fact they hired Michael Buffer to announce the Royal Bash, the fake-ass Royal Bash.
$24 million budget.
Wow.
And probably 500,000 of that went to Michael Buffer. It made 12. You know, we should mention this cage match is the triple-decker Cage of Doom. Everybody buried it. It was horrible. Everybody hated it. And so they decided to make a movie. And what is the final battle? It's another goddamn triple-decker cage match. This would be like in 2010 if like TNA made a movie and the final match was a reverse battle royal.
They throw powder in someone's face, DDP's, I think, or somebody's, and the dude just looks at it and goes, "It doesn't work." It's like, of course, because wrestling's fake and stupid.
Should we just end it there? What a soundbite. There has never been a movie I have watched in my entire life which has made me hate myself more.
Wow.
I'm ashamed that I'm even in the place at 41 years old where I would end up reviewing this movie for money. I would have thought I would have made it out of here by now. You know what I mean? I'm done.
Well, everyone, hopefully we can do this again someday. Instead of suffering through the YouTube chat, click like and subscribe. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. New Japan Strong Style Evolved, Sunday, December 15th, 7:30 Eastern. You can watch it on New Japan World, or you can go to the Walter Pyramid in Long Beach, California. If you want to see the show live, Mercedes Moné against Suzuki for the New Japan Strong Women's Title main event. Our guest today, TJP versus Kevin Knight, Kosei Fujita, Clark Connors, Jack Perry and Takeshita and Zack Sabre Jr., Filthy Tom. A lot of guys on the show. And TJP, let's get some plugs in for anything you'd like to talk about as well.
Well, upcoming, obviously, this is a pretty big one on Sunday at the Walter Pyramid. And then it serves as the lead-in and preview for Wrestle Kingdom, which is, for so many people, the biggest show of the year. That'll be January 4th, as always. And we have a two-night event this year. So the next day will be Wrestle Dynasty. And there's a lot of New Japan versus AEW matchups to anchor that card, and that's going to be a pretty amazing one as well. And for those that are interested, a local secret that is slowly unraveling, my wife, Aria Blake, and I have created you said I can't curse, but this is in Spanish, so I don't know if we could say it. The name is Pinche Loco Pro. So
okay,
that's the name of our new show. It's an underground bar show housed at the world-famous Nerd Bar. Next date will probably be around mid to late January, maybe early February. First card just happens. So please, if you're able to or you're passing through, check out the handles Pinche Loco Pro and see when the next date and the next card is announced.
All right. Well, thanks so much. We are totally out of time. Thanks for listening, everybody. Wrestling Observer Live.